Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help. And King of Floors, your vinyl, laminate, and engineered flooring superstore.
It is Wednesday, Free Agent Wednesday in the National Hockey League. All of our guests today sponsored by the O's marketing team at Royal LePage, including Jeff Paterson, who's standing by. We're going to take a look at the Canucks UFA signings in a moment as well. The O's marketing team at Royal LePage, the go-to source for all your Central Vancouver Island real estate needs. Find out more at wearerealestate.com. Just before we go to Jeff, Derek, if you don't mind, the graphic, once again, Canucks UFA signings. Won't go through all the details, but Travis, look at how busy Jim Benning and company have been. Travis Hamonic, Tucker Pullman, Luke Shen, Yaroslav Halak, Brandon Sutter returns, as does Hamonic. Brad Hunt, Kyle Burrows, Brady Keeper, whom Thomas Drance loves, Devontae Stevens, Sheldon Dries, and we just found out moments ago, another local kid coming back to these parts. It's a two-way contract, by the way. At the very least, he's going to play in Abbotsford. We're talking about Nick Patan. Rick.
And I know you said Jim Benning's busy, but I think I think
they don't have a cough switch.
This is television. In radio, we could pound the button and you get away with anything, and we can't do it here.
I'm just leaving that alone.
Ryan Johnson is the guy responsible, I think, for all these depth signings. And Ryan Johnson's been a busy camper. I know a lot of agents have been calling Ryan in the last 2 weeks, pushing their guys on him. So I think it's Ryan Johnson. But Nick Patan, I'm going to tell you right now, out of all the signings today for Abbotsford, I like Nick Patan the best.
GM of the Abbotsford Canucks, Ryan Johnson, of course, the former Canuck. As we're joined now by Jeff Paterson from Sekeres and Price. Jeff, I know you're busy. How are you, sir?
I'm all right, Donnie, but I can't keep up.
I know.
Honestly, this is dizzying. And when you think back to what happened last October, that Thanksgiving weekend, the last time the free agent window opened and the old they ran out of time thing, this feels like a Vancouver Canucks coordinated response to what happened 10 months ago, that they weren't going to allow themselves to get painted into any kind of corner. Instead, they're cornering the market on just about every free agent that's available, sort of at that mid-range to depth level. But I think they've done some really nice work here the last couple of days. I still have some serious concerns about the overall shape of that defense. Hamonic and Shen, they can play in the National Hockey League, but I'm not sure either one of those guys should be a whole lot higher in your lineup than a third-pairing guy. And yet I get the feeling that Hamonic's coming back to partner with Quinn Hughes again. And, is that what you want on a top pairing? I've got time for Travis Hamonic, and I'm not surprised that he got a raise. He more than doubles his salary from a year ago. They're familiar with the player, all of that. But just when I look 1 through 6 or 7, they've done a lot of nice work up front with the forward group. There's some real excitement in this market about the forwards that they've assembled. I think that there are some questions about that back end, and that through Jim Benning's tenure has been sort of his biggest downfall, is putting together a legit National Hockey League defense core. They've got volume here, but is it going to be good enough to get the job done?
Yeah, and interesting because we all know Jim Benning is an old defenseman. Jeff, we've had a lot of this into the Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. You look at the players on defense the Canucks have signed. Who's their shutdown pairing?
Yeah, I Hughes and Hamonic probably, and then you've got OEL and Myers would be the second pairing, I think, and you could flip those two depending on your opponent and the way that you want to roll them out. Tucker Pullman, I've got time for the player at 28. I was talking to somebody in Winnipeg this morning, said that he did a nice job when he stepped in, maybe asked a little bit too much of him, but, for the most part, I'm okay with it. He's got size, right shot. The price point is a little rich at $2.5 million for a third pairing guy, especially for 4 years. You look at Tucker Pullman's season last year, guys, 39 games. He had 1 assist and 1 penalty. Talk about low event for a defenseman, but, that's fine. If he's not making trips to the penalty box, then he can help you out in other ways. Familiar with Brock Besser. They were teammates at North Dakota. His younger brother Colton came to a Canucks prospects camp a couple of years ago, so they were trying to woo him then. He signed elsewhere, but they get Tucker Pullman today. So, look, Jim Benning had to make some things happen, and I think he's done a pretty decent job here. But when I look at the overall sort of capability of that defense, and to answer your question, Don, I'm not sure who the shutdown guy is. They are banking in a big way on OEL having a bounce-back season, a change of scenery, new coach, and just sort of being reinvigorated about life in the NHL outside of Arizona. It's a big bet with a big price tag, but if he can live up to some of that, then Oliver Ekman-Larsson, I think, can be a big piece of what the Canucks are trying to put together here.
Be careful, Kevin Epps watching the show. Just kidding.
Man.
What do you...
So you're afraid of him, too?
I'm joking. It's a joke, for crying out loud. Goaltending, Halak. Jeff, what do you think about him replacing Holtby?
I like the signing, Rick. I think they did this right. First of all, no term. 1 year. You got Mikey DiPietro waiting in the wings. He's going to play a ton in Abbotsford, may get a sniff at the NHL level at some point this season, but they needed a veteran backup, and Jaro Halak is that. Where Braden Holtby, one of his downfalls was, and through no fault of his own, he comes across the continent, switches teams for the first time in the NHL, and had to adjust to being a backup goaltender, and it was something he wasn't used to. Halak has played that role here. He knows what he's getting himself into. The Canucks know what they're getting with this guy. I like the way that they structured his contract with the base salary, the signing bonus, and then bonuses for being over the age of 35, a game played bonus that he's going to trigger because I think it's 10 games played. He'll get there. And there was another bonus for a save percentage of .905. 2 years ago, he was a .919 goaltender with the Boston Bruins. So I think there's still some game there. He's 36. He's been a capable backup. My only concern is that he has spent the bulk of his career in the East. And, Boston, there isn't a ton of travel. The Islanders, almost none based in the New York area. Like so many guys, when they come all the way out west, I know he's played in St. Louis in the Western Conference, but travel in the West and based on the West Coast is a different beast. And so, all those back-to-back games, they're going to need a guy that can step in and deliver some victories. I think that was a pretty good bet on the part of the Vancouver Canucks to get a one-year deal done with a quality, capable backup goaltender.
You've been tweeting a lot about Sven Berchi the last couple of days, and I know, Jeff, you were quite interested in where he ended up. He's back in Vegas. He had a ton of offers in Switzerland, but he's back in the NHL on a two-way deal. Your thoughts on Sverchi getting another shot?
Yeah, I'm happy for him. I think most people that have watched him and sort of the way it played out with the Canucks are glad. Now, it's a two-way deal, so there's probably going to be some time spent in the Golden Knights farm team with the Silver Knights, so we may see him coming through Abbotsford and playing in the American Hockey League, which would kind of be full circle for a guy that spent some time in Abbotsford when the Heat were there. But I still think that there's a player there. I don't know if he's an everyday National Hockey Leaguer, but my sense is that he's not done playing in the NHL, and I think there's value there for the Vegas Golden Knights. There's not much of a commitment on their part, but there could be some real upside. I think he's going to be motivated. I think he's going to want to show that he can still play in the National Hockey League, can score in the National Hockey League, and so, I was just kind of curious to see how this would all play out and what kind of offers and opportunities Sven would have. I know that a lot of people were coming at me on Twitter and saying, why wouldn't he just go and collect a paycheck in Europe? Look, he's married to a girl from the Portland area. He spent almost half his life here in North America. He wants to play in the best league in the world. That Euro option will probably always be there for him, but I think he sees some unfinished business here in the National Hockey League. So we'll see if he gets his opportunity. A little bit of irony in that that's where it all kind of unraveled for him, was in Vegas. That's where he suffered that first concussion that ultimately led to the long layoff, and then from there, the Canucks kind of turning their back on him. So it happened in a game at T-Mobile against the Golden Knights, but now he has signed with that team, and I hope that he does get a legitimate opportunity to play in the National Hockey League again.
First class to deal with, much like yourself, Jeff. Brandon Sutter, you okay? 1 year, 1.125.
Donnie, this is the deal. This is the right deal. Talk about the right time and place for Brandon Sutter, veteran guy, trusted, right shot, face-off, penalty kill, at $1 million or thereabouts. That was the issue. I've got all the time in the world for Brandon Sutter, the person. I still think that there's a hockey player there, but it was 4.375 these last bunch of years, way too much for what they were getting. We've seen he's not an offensive generator and has never been a playmaker as a center in the National Hockey League, but now as a fourth-line guy, those expectations aren't there. I still think he can get around the ice reasonably well. He's got a good shot. And I think he can center a fourth line, whether it's with Mott on one side. We'll see who's on the other. The one thing I would say to you guys is when I look at the makeup of the Canucks forward group, and I think they've taken great strides here with the addition of Connor Garland and Jason Dickinson and inserting Vasily Podkolzin, there isn't a lot of grit to that bunch. And, Garland's not the biggest guy. He plays with a little bit of edge to his game, and Höglander's the same thing, but Elias Pettersson's not a big player that punishes you physically. You go through the lineup. There aren't a ton of those guys. I think there's a real opportunity for Zach McEwen, but I don't know where he stands in the eyes of the head coach. He couldn't get into the lineup on a regular basis last season, but when I look at what the Canucks could use when you look at the forward group that they've got right now assembled, again, I think they've upgraded in a lot of ways, but man, wouldn't it be something if Zach McEwen sort of saw that light at the end of the tunnel and thought, this is the opportunity for me to come and force these guys to keep me on this team. He's under contract for this season. And so we'll see with all the other depth pieces they've got. There's going to be guys that are hungry and pushing for jobs, but I see that as a real opportunity for Zach McEwen. Obviously, Matthew Highmore is going to be in the mix as well. But I do think that just a little bit of size and some bite is something that this forward group could certainly use from a guy like Zach McEwen.
Bang on as always. Jeff, thanks so much for this. I know you're busy again. Can't thank you enough.
All right, guys. Have a great show.
You bet. J. Pat from Sekeres and Price.